Your Honor, I don't have any further questions at this time. Okay. Cross-examination.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Red. So, this incident that you described, or during this incident that you're describing, you never saw Mr. Johnson come out of his yard, correct?
No, ma'am, I really didn't notice him there to the.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
So did you notice when he was, how long had you been on the porch, that morning by the time you saw Mr. Johnson?
I had just out the door.
Okay, was he out there cutting his grass?
No, ma'am.
You didn't see him with a lawnmower?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And so how long have you and Mr. Johnson been neighbors?
It's like we really don't associate with each other, so I cannot give you a definite time how long he stayed there.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. When did you move on to Park?
I've been in Chicago about 15 years.
Okay, and so was Mr. Johnson living there when you moved on to Parlin?
No, he wasn't.
Okay, so he moved in after you did?
He moved in about maybe 6 or 7 years after I got there.
Okay, so at the time of this incident, you and Mr. Johnson had been neighbors for what, at least 7 or 8 years?
Some of the nation.
Okay, and so you don't live on the same side of the street, correct?
No, ma'am.
You live on opposite sides of the street?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and so do you live directly across from each other, or one house down, a couple houses over? Or?
My neighbor stayed right across from him. There's a house right across from him, there next door to him is my neighbor, and I stay to the next house.
Okay, so you live across the street and one house over.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and the two of you, have you ever had any conversation with each other?
Yes, we have.
Have you ever had any cordial conversation with each other?
No, we haven't.
Okay, so when did you guys kind of start having negative interaction with each other? Professor Rhodes. When did you and Mr. Johnson start having negative interaction with each other?
At one time,
So the answer is when?
probably 6 or 7 months before that time.
Okay, so up until about 6 months before this, you and Mr. Johnson are friendly?
No.
Were you ever friendly with each other?
No.
Okay, in the 7 or 8 years that you're living near that close to each other, you're never friendly with each other?
No.
Okay, all right. So, you indicate, so how many houses would you say are occupied on your street, as on May 23rd, 2020? Let me ask you like this, are most of the houses occupied?
All the houses are occupied. There's a couple of lots on the street. Yes.
So people are living in all the houses on the date of this incident?
The objective regulation.
All the houses are occupied except for 3.
Okay, and do you know about how many houses are on the block?
Anywhere from 13 to 15
There's 13 to 15 houses on your block?
on both sides. Coming on both sides.
Okay, all right. So the police had an opportunity to come out to the house, is that right?
Yes, they did.
Okay, and so would you, if you know, did the police tell you if there was any video footage of the incident?
I do not know, but I know Mr. Johnson has a video at his house. So I don't know if the police took a video or not.
Okay, so are you aware of any video footage having been taken of Mr. Johnson saying he was gonna shoot you?
No, I do not.
You didn't see anything like that? To your knowledge, was a gun ever recovered or anything like that, to your knowledge?
No, I don't know, because they told me to go to the house.
Okay, all right. They never asked you to identify a weapon that they located.
What they asked me was, I know what type of weapon it was.
Right, but they didn't show you a gun and say this.
They told me to go to the house, get out the way.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear, slow down a little bit, they told you what?
They told me to go into my house, get out the way, because it wasn't safe to go in my house.
Okay. All right.
Um, I don't have.
Can you read it, Rick? Very briefly, Your Honor. So Mr. Red, Ms. Stevenson asked you if you had a prior, I guess, interaction with Mr. Johnson before?
Yes, I have.
Okay, and you testified that it wasn't a friendly interaction with Mr. Johnson, correct?
No. They approached me on the night.
Okay, so this was a separate occasion, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you and Mr. Johnson were never acquainted or friends in any way, in your opinion?
No time.
Okay. I have no further questions. Ms. Stevenson.
So that incident where you said that Mr. Johnson pulled a knife on you, did you call the police?
Objection irrelevant.
Did you call the police?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay, and to your knowledge, did Mr. Johnson ever be charged with anything?
Judge, objection.
Did you have to go to court because of that?
Sustained. That whole line of questioning, Ms. Stevenson, objection to relevance, sustained.
Okay, so did anything happen after? Was there any action you know that was undertaken against Mr. Johnson? Well, it's not.
Objection to relevance, sustained.
Thank you. I don't have any further questions.
Mr. Red, I have a couple of questions for you.
Yes, ma'am.
You said that you didn't see Mr. Johnson with the lawnmower?
No, ma'am, I stepped on the porch.
Hold on, let me. So immediately prior to what you say occurred, what were you doing?
I was working in my house. I came in my house to get some air. I stepped in the house. About 10 seconds, I got on the porch. He screamed over it.
No, I say what happened immediately before what you described occurred. Immediately before, what were you doing?
I just stepped out the door to get some air.
So you were on your porch?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then when you came on your porch, where was Mr. Johnson?
When I finally seen him, he was standing in his yard in front of his house.
Okay, he was standing in the yard, and then did you all exchange words?
No, ma'am, when I came on the porch, he stopped me because he was pointing.
No.
Okay,
Mhm. Did you all exchange words?
no,
And then the next thing happened was that he pulled the gun on you?
yes,
Prior to that day, prior to this incident, when was the last time you had interaction? When, not what. Okay. When was the last time you had interaction with Mr. Johnson?
about 5-6 months before.
Okay, so 5 or 6 months earlier, you had interaction with Mr. Johnson,
Yes,
and then this day you came out on your porch to get air. And then you saw Mr. Johnson, and that's when the situation happened.
yes.
Okay, are there any questions from the people based on my question? Yes, Judge, very briefly. So, Mr. Red, when the judge asked you about prior, strike that. The judge asked you
when is the last time you had an interaction with Mr. Johnson? You said about 5, 6 months before this day in question?
Yes,
Okay, between that incident, 5 or 6 months before this incident, and this incident, was there any interaction between you and Mr. Johnson?
yes, it was. With him, but not with me.
Okay. Without telling me what was the interaction? Without telling me what was done or said, what was the interaction?
Him screaming,
Okay. And screaming at whom?
me,
Okay. And when did that happen?
it was like a daily basis, almost every day.
Okay. So it's your testimony that almost every day between the first incident and this incident in question, Mr. Johnson would be, I guess, screaming at you.
Yes,
And where would you be on most of the occasions? Where would you be at in relation to Mr. Johnson?
walking down the streets, coming to the store, going to the house,
And where would Mr. Johnson be?
in his yard.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Stevenson, any questions based on my question?
So when he would be, you would walk down the street and he would start screaming at you?
Yes,
Okay, do you recall what he would say to you or anything like that?
Judge, objection and close for this.
Yes, it does.
Okay, how would it make you feel when he was screaming?
threatened,
Did you call the police?
no,
Okay, all right, I don't have any.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Red, you may step down, and if you want to, you're free to remain in court. People may call the next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, the people would like to call Officer FavCAYLahSY. FavCAYLahSY.
All right. Officer, stop and get, the court for the spelling of your name. Step this way, raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm this testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
yes.
You may be seated. All right, Ms. Ritter?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Officer.
Good afternoon.
Officer, can you state your name nice and loud for the record, please?
Police Officer FavCAYLahSY,
Okay, and Officer Ayala, where are you employed?
City of Detroit,
How long have you been employed by the city of Detroit?
beyond 6 years.
Okay, and Officer, it's a microphone right in front of you. If you can adjust it to your liking, kind of talk into the mic so that everyone can hear you in the courtroom, that'd be great.
I'm sorry, officer, can you spell your name for me? Just the last.
FavCAYLahSY.
Thank you.
Now proceed, Your Honor.
You may.
Thank you. And what do you do for the city of Detroit, Officer?
Police officer.
Okay, and I want to draw your attention back to May 23rd of 2023. Were you employed with the city of Detroit as a police officer?
Yes,
Okay, and were you on duty as a police officer on that day?
yes,
Okay, and do you recall going to a street called Carlin in the city of Detroit?
yes,
Okay, and is that within the county of Wayne?
yes,
Okay, and do you recall why you went to that location?
yes.
Okay, can you tell the jury why you went to that location?
We had a police run to that location.
And what type of police run was it?
It was a felonious assault police run.
Okay, and can you describe to the jury what you mean by a police run?
When somebody calls, they talk to dispatch, and then dispatch gives us the call that we go to.
Okay, now to your knowledge, if you know, do you know who made that call to dispatch?
Call.
Okay, and what were you wearing on this day in question?
Class C uniform, full Class C uniform.
Okay, and can you describe that to the jury, what that was it Class C uniform?
Yes.
Can you describe the, description of that to the jury?
Special operations, modified uniform, name and badge displayed on my chest, Detroit Police, in a, black police vehicle.
Okay, and were you in this black police vehicle alone?
No,
Okay, who were you with that day?
2 of my partners.
Okay, do you remember their names?
Yes,
What were their names?
Officer Kennedy and Officer Curtis.
Okay, so
What was the second name? Officer Kennedy and Officer
Kirsten,
Kirsten, thank you.
okay, so it was, 3 in total officers in this vehicle?
yes.
Okay, and can you tell the jury what happened when you arrived at this location?
Upon arrival, I seen the person who made the phone call. He's screamed, pointed out, there he is. I
Like,
look
what did
back,
you do next?
I look through my rearview mirror because I passed him, and I see someone running towards the house. and go
Oh.
inside.
Okay, so let's just back up just a little bit, officer. So, are you driving this vehicle or a passenger?
Yes, I was driving.
So you're the driver, and you could hear this person, saying there he is?
Yes,
Okay, and you testified that you saw someone running where?
in a house.
Okay. What did you do after you saw that?
I parked the vehicle, got out, we spoke with him.
Okay, now where did,
Hold on.
We got out.
No, hold on. So Madam Reporter, oh, okay. Okay. Repeat the last part for me, but, if you can't hear the witness, just get my attention. Okay, please don't interrupt the witness. Okay. Repeat what you just said.
Parked the scout car, exited, and spoke with him.
okay, now, where were you parked?
Couple houses past him, leave towards the end of the block, I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, when you say him, who are you referring to?
The person who flagged us down.
Okay, and the person who flagged you down, do you see them in the courtroom today?
Yes,
Okay, can you point that person out and describe what that person is wearing?
black button shirt, sitting in the bench in front of me.
Okay, and the person that you testified that a person was running towards the house? Or
Yes,
a house, I'm sorry.
yes,
Okay, was that person outside or inside of the house?
he was outside.
Okay, and did you talk to that person?
When upon arrival, no,
Why not?
because he ran inside the house.
Okay. After you saw that person run inside the house, what did you do?
My partners and I, they spoke with the victim,
Okay,
complainant.
okay, and during the time you or your partner, did you observe your partner speaking to the complaining witness?
Yes,
Okay, and where were you while your partners were speaking with the complaining witness?
I don't recall.
Okay, do you recall if the person who ran inside of the house was still in the house or outside of the house at this point?
Inside the house still.
Okay, do you recall how long that person was inside the house?
I do not.
Okay, did that person ever come outside of the house?
Yes,
When?
after using the PA system to call him out.
So you had to use the PA system to call this person outside the house?
Yes,
And, I'm sorry, officer, I'm not familiar, but can you describe to the jury what a PA system means?
it's like a mic that you use for in-car, and it makes your voice louder, like a speaker.
And do you recall how many times you had to tell this person to come out the house?
I do not.
Okay, was it more than one time?
Yes,
Okay, did that person come out after a couple times, or did it take some time for that person to come out the house?
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
Let me rephrase it. So, did that person come out immediately after your commands, or did you have to wait after a couple commands for the person to come outside the house?
Leave it, wait a little bit.
So you had to wait for this person to come outside the house?
Yes,
And eventually, did the person come out the house?
Yes,
And did you speak with that person?
yes,
And the person that, came out of the house and you spoke with, do you see that person in the courtroom today?
yes.
Can you point that person out and tell me what they are wearing?
A blue button-up shirt,
Can you describe anything else about that person?
necklace, I believe it's a brown color necklace, rosary possibly.
Okay, does the person have any, eyewear or anything on their face or anything?
No,
Okay, Judge, at this time, the record, I'm sorry, does the record reflect identification of the defendant, Mr. Marcus Johnson?
The record reflect the identification of Marcus Johnson.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I would have an objection to that.
Why?
So my objection would be that the officer has indicated that the person he talked to was Mr. Marcus Johnson. who's in court today.
I don't understand your objection.
So if I could approach him.
You may. The objection is overruled. The court, the record reflects the identification of Marcus Johnson.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I continue?
You may.
Thank you. And Officer Ayala, during the time that you spoke to Mr. Johnson where was Mr. Red, the complainant?
I believe it was across the street.
Okay, and without telling me what was said, did Mr. Red describe the nature of the call?
Yes,
And what was the description of the nature of the call?
a gun was pointed at him.
Okay, did he tell you who the person was that pointed the gun at him?
Yes,
And when did he tell you that?
You said what or when?
When?
Thank you.
I believe after we exited our vehicle and spoke with him.
Okay, and where was Mr. Johnson when Mr. Red told you who that person was that pointed the gun at you?
I'm sorry,
Let me rephrase it. Was Mr. Red outside when he told you who Mr. Johnson was? Who the person that pointed the gun at him? Was he outside?
I don't recall.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this, officer. Did he point out Mr. Johnson to you while he was there?
Check to leave, Your Honor.
That's a yes or no question, Judge.
That's a leading question.
Sustained.
Thank you. May I have one moment, Judge?
You may.
Thank you. I have no further questions at this time, Judge.
Any cross-examination?
Good afternoon, Officer Ayala.
Good afternoon.
So, do you make any observations of, you drove up in a patrol car, correct?
Correct.
Did you see anyone outside when you drove up to the scene?
Yes,
Who did you see?
the complainant who flagged us down screamed.
Did you see anybody else outside?
At that time, no.
Okay, so you were driving on Carlin runs Which way is that, north and south, east and west?
I believe so.
Okay, and the major cross street to come off of Carlin would be what, is that what, Chicago?
I don't remember.
Okay, so you come off of the main street, whatever that is, turn onto Carlin, and you are approaching, whose house would you come to first? The defendant's or the complainant?
I believe both. It was across the street.
Okay, so as you approach the scene, is the defendant's house on the left or on the right side of the street?
As I approached, I was flagged down on the left side.
The defendant is on the left side or the complainant's on the left side?
The complainant flagged us down on the left side.
Okay, so the complainant's house is on the left side of the street, the defendant's is on the right side of the street?
Correct.
Okay, so you would get to, or the houses are not directly across the street from each other, correct?
I don't know.
Okay, did you talk to the complainant?
Yes, I was there.
Okay, where was he when you were talking to him?
Just a couple feet in front.
Okay, so where were you? He was in front of you where?
On the sidewalk.
The sidewalk in front of his house, the sidewalk in front of somebody else's house?
Yes, his house.
So he's on the sidewalk in front of his house?
Yes.
Okay, to your knowledge, is there a house to the right of that house where the two of you were talking?
I don't recall.
Okay, all right, so, as you're approaching the scene, you don't see the defendant outside mowing the lawn, right?
I don't recall.
All right, if you watch a video of the incident, there was dash cam of the incident, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And as that's coming up, you indicated that at some point you had to use the PA system to get, the defendant's attention, correct?
Yes.
And he came out of the house after he used the PA system?
Yes.
Did you have a conversation with him? When he came out of the house?
Yes, we detained him and
Make sure you are keeping your voices up. You're trail, both of you are trailing.
So did you have a conversation, Officer Ayala, with Mr. Johnson after he came out of the house?
I don't recall.
Okay, do you remember if you asked him why he ran in the house?
I don't recall.
Okay, do you remember if he had anything with him when he came out of the house?
I don't recall.
Okay, all right.
Well, I don't know what you're gonna share and why we didn't share it.
So, Your Honor, there is dash cam of the incident, or excuse me, of the approach.
So if this is one of the 3 exhibits,
That is correct.
okay, so let's get that in the record, what we're showing.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay.
I'm here to help, because somebody on, I'm not gonna say what they said. I'm here to help.
Yeah, coaching from.
Yeah, well, no, they told me, I'll tell you afterward. So what is this you're getting ready to show?
So-
Exhibit what?
Your Honor,
This is people's exhibit.
People's exhibit 1 that has been previously admitted.
exactly, it's been admitted, stipulated to and admitted, and I believe that to be the, dash cam and the police cars approaching the location.
Okay, then Ms. Ritter, yes, you may share the screen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Ruth. You know, if that's you driving right there, Officer Young?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
And don't forget you had to click for the audio at the bottom if there's audio. Before you share it, you have to click that, share audio. And then officers to stand up. Sometimes it's there because of the
We're coming in with a search warrant.
need to stand up.
33 requesting.
Walk out of the house. Step off your porch.
Okay, excuse me. Well, we can go ahead with this. I'll ask the different question.
What's his name supposed to be? Marcus. Hey, Marcus Johnson. Come talk to us. Step off the porch for me. Come up on the sidewalk.
So it,
Sorry about
So
that.
this- if you recall, it sounds like Mr. Johnson is actually outside of the house, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, all right, and you've given him a command to come over and talk to you, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Do you recall whether or not he was compliant with that command?
You trailing off.
I'm sorry, Judge. Do you recall whether or not Mr. Johnson was compliant with that command?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Four seven. 271.
Mr. Johnson,
You'll have
step out of the
271
house.
on Pinehurst.
Yeah. Tell him to make that corner back there behind me.
Reggie, available?
Mr. Johnson, it's Detroit Police.
Go ahead.
Step out of the house.
Yeah.
275.
Go, do that. Yes. Has 271 returned?
I believe it's in the station. I'll get hold of them.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Reg. Mr. Johnson, it's Detroit Police. Step out of the house.
2135. Yes, 275 should be making your location. Good, copy.
Call right on 275.
I know, right?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Johnson,
Night.
Call him all.
step out of the house. Come talk to us. Come here.
271 the radio.
If you do not comply, we will bring down your door.
75 making 233 location.
Mr. Johnson. Come out of the house. You halfway there, come on. Come walk towards me. Hey.
Okay, so you called for Mr. Johnson to come out of the house, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and then you also kind of said right after that, come closer to me.
Correct.
So are you trying to get him to come out of the house all those times or to come out of the yard, or come off the porch? If you remember.
Yeah, I remember.
Okay, but at some point you tell him, come out of the house, and then you say, come closer to me, right?
Correct.
Okay, all right. I mean, yeah.
Step out. Walk towards me. Hey.
Are you asking him to step out of the yard or step out of the house?
I don't recall.
Did you say step out, walk towards me?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
2135. 2135. Can you check to see if Our suspect on this return is possibly on the phone with one of your guys'
Mr.
call
Johnson.
takers. Hey, firm,
Okay, did you hear some kind of background conversation right there?
Yes,
Did you hear someone say, can you check to see if he's on the phone?
yes,
So did Mr. Johnson tell you all that he was actually on the phone?
I don't know.
So when he came out of the house, oh, never mind.
Walk towards me. Step out of the house.
They were transferred to a supervisor. Okay. I believe you should still be on the phone with them, refusing to come out. Hey, firm.
Mr. Johnson, step out. Come to the sidewalk, walk towards me.
Do you remember there was a fence around Mr. Johnson's yard?
Yes,
Ms. Easton, you have got to speak up.
I'm
So you
sorry.
might have to stand at the mic.
I'll do that.
Okay.
So do you recall if there is a fence around Mr. Johnson's yard, Officer Young?
yes,
Okay, and so are you asking him to step out of the fence?
yes,
Okay, all right.
He's locking his front door.
I'm good, thank you.
Take your hand out of your pocket, walk towards me. Mr. Johnson. Come walk towards us, man. Come over here. Mr. Johnson. Come talk to us. Come over here.
Okay, you moved your car. Is that what's happening right there? You're moving the car?
Yes,
Okay, so as you move the car, is Mr. Johnson's house to your left or to your right?
now it's on the left.
Okay, and so is Mr. Red's house to your left or to your right?
In that part, it's on the right.
Okay, so have you, at this point, have you already passed Mr. Red's house? Are you in front of Mr. Red's house?
I don't,
Okay, all right.
Mr. Johnson. Come on. Walk towards us. Walk towards me. Keep your hands up. Hands up. Both hands up.
You're taking my phone.
I'll let you have your phone in a second.
Why am I being arrested? I'm cutting the grass. I ain't drunk. Hello?
Hi, this is Sergeant Ball. All right, Rich, we got him in
thank you.
custody.
Here. Hey, this is Scout 233. We got him custody. You're good.
Okay, it's Sergeant Bolden. Okay.
Thank you.
Is that your, hand in the video right there with a phone in it?
yes,
Do you recall who you were talking to on that phone?
yes, someone from dispatch.
Okay, police dispatch?
Yes,
Do you recall what you were telling them? Well, let me ask you, do you recall telling them that you got him? He's with you?
yes,
Okay, so you're telling police dispatch. So is it safe to say then that Mr. Johnson was on the phone with the police?
yes.
Okay, so he's talking to the police when you guys arrived, correct?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Was he talking to the police when you all arrived?
When we arrived,
That calls for speculation.
Actually, it does. I'm gonna withdraw that. At the time that you take Mr. Mr. Johnson into custody, though, his phone indicates that he's on the phone, is correct?
correct.
Okay, all right. So, And so who are the other officers? Who's that officer there?
It's Officer Kirsten.
Okay, and did Officer Kirsten, Officer Kenny, they come in the car with you or in a different car?
Same car.
So you all three arrived in the same car?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Do you recall Mr. Johnson? He tell you he was doing before you guys got there?
I'm sorry, can you?
Do you recall Mr. Johnson telling you what he was doing before the police arrived?
I'm sorry.
That's overruled. And that's overruled right now. The answer to this question doesn't call for hearsay.
Do you recall Mr. Johnson telling you what he was doing before you all arrived?
I don't recall.
There's a video show that he told you he was cutting the grass.
Now that calls for hearsay.
All right. Actually, I don't have anything further for Officer Ayala.
Any redirect?
Yes, very briefly, Judge.
You may.
So Officer Ayala, I'm gonna stop sharing. So Officer Ayala, you got a chance to watch the clip, everybody want camera the video, I'm sorry, correct?
Yes.
Okay, now, what's depicted in that clip is, it's fair to say that's an accurate representation of your body on camera that you have been wearing that day?
Yes.
Okay, now, when you first arrived, when I asked you earlier in direct examination, you said that you had passed whom? Mr. Johnson or Mr. Red?
Mr. Red.
Okay, and do you recall if there was anyone else standing outside when you passed Mr. Red at first?
I don't recall.
Okay, you don't recall seeing anybody?
No, I don't recall.
Okay, now, in the video, we saw Mr. Johnson coming out of a home. Is that safe to say?
Yes.
Okay, now, when you were on that PA system in the video, do you recall Mr. Johnson being inside the house or outside of the house?
He was inside at first.
At first, he was inside.
Yes.
Okay, and that was inside the house, not the gate, but inside the house.
Yes.
Okay, and at some point in the video, you were telling him to come outside the gate, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, at what point did he come out of the house but was within the gate? You understand my question?
Yes, I don't recall.
Okay, do you recall if there was a couple times of you telling him to come out the house that he stood on his porch?
Yes.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Ms. Dixon? Anything? I think we speak, because this is clear, right at your place.
Okay, Judge, I'm sorry, can you approach?
You may.
Thank you.
I don't know. I guess you want. Okay. I want you to ask me something, but, okay, we're gonna take a 5-minute recess. Yes.
All rise for the jury.
Also, I don't think it would be really bad.
I didn't give it to him, Your Honor.
All right, let's give them to him. And then, ladies and gentlemen, you're getting ready to go be taken to a different jury room. The jury room that's on the third. Hold on. Okay, you're getting ready to be taken to a different jury room. The jury room is on the 3rd floor. It is the personal jury room for the trial. So feel free to leave your coats, your non-valuables in there. It's going to be locked, and the only people that have access to that is myself, Officer Crafts, and like head of security, so nobody's going in and out of there. So you can leave your coats or whatever in there, so you don't have to pick them up every time you know, go in and out, okay? You're welcome. Tomorrow's that. Sorry, sorry.
I gotta be here tomorrow anyway.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's what I know.
Somewhere in 3:30, 9 a.m. I'm here for it.
Oh, okay, okay, you may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I also wanted to tell you this. This jury trial is being live streamed. So jury selection was not, okay? But the jury trial is. You see that corner, you see that little box in the corner right there? I don't know why it won't let me make that little box big, but that little box in the corner, that's what they see on YouTube. If I get ready to let you leave and that box is showing any part of that door, somebody say, Judge, stop, don't. Because when you're walking out, I try to put it on the floor like this right here so that they can't see you. You know, maintain your anonymity, okay? So see how that door, now you can see the door? That's that door right there. So whenever I'm getting ready to let you go out, I don't want that door showing, so I want to put it somewhere else, okay? All right. Ms. Nixon.
Okay, so. Officer Ayala, again, do you recall whether or not did you see, Mr. Johnson cut his grass as you approached the scene?
I don't recall.
Okay, all right, and so if you look at a video of the ride up to the house, would that refresh your recollection?
Yes.
Okay, all right, okay. So now- Brenner, we can replay the exhibit?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't recall that we have 3 different exhibits, Your Honor. To refresh the witness recollection, we're asking, to play exhibit number 2, which is
Okay, and then just for my memory, when you all stipulated to those videos, the jury wasn't in here yet, were they?
No.
Okay, so let me just, so in the presence of the jury, that exhibits 1, 2, and 3, it was 3 of them, right?
Correct.
Exhibits 1, 2, and 3 were previously admitted outside of the presence of the jury, and all 3 of those are, what are they, dash cam or body cam?
Two body, exhibit 1 is Officer Ayala body worn camera, exhibit 2 is Officer Ayala front of the car. So
Dash cam, and exhibit 3,
is Officer Kennedy's body worn camera.
okay,
And Officer.
He is reviewing.
Oh, okay.
okay. So exhibit 1 was the body worn camera,
That was
exhibit 2 is what you're gonna show now, dash cam. Exhibit 3 is another officer's body worn camera. All 3 of those have been admitted into evidence. Okay, Ms. Stevenson.
Okay, so do you recall seeing, as you approach the scene, do you recall seeing Mr. Johnson, cutting grass?
I don't recall.
Okay, and with, you in the video refresh your recollection?
Yes.
Okay. Now. Okay, I'm gonna ask you to. Okay, so, and from this orientation, if you know, would you be approaching, as you're driving, this is your car, correct? Car you're driving, all right, so as you're approaching, would you, if you know, would Mr. Johnson's house be to your right or to your left? If you're
From this
Mhm.
arrival,
Uh,
am I right?
Mr. Johnson's house would be to your right. Okay, now very, 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 Judge, may I borrow your little?
Why it's gotta be little?
Well, it's not little at all. It's very large and very nice, very pretty.
Would you like to use,
May I borrow your large
The
pointer,
pointer.
please, Your Honor?
okay.
Thank
Look,
you
did
so
I
much.
just overexerted? Because you called it little.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
Yes, you may use the pointer, Ms. Stevens.
Thank you so much. Even still, I'm not gonna be tall enough. Okay, so I'm gonna draw your Officer Allen. Can you see from where you are, or do you want to stand up?
I'm good, I can see.
You
All right, because you're not vertically
You're
challenged,
taller,
but
he's
yeah.
taller.
All right, so I'm gonna draw your I'm gonna draw your attention to this right here. It may be hard to see because of the light as well. Do you see that area there?
Yes.
Okay, can you see what that is right there?
No,
Okay.
Is that better or worse?
Is that easier to see or the same?
I think worse because it went dim.
Yeah, our great technology. Okay, all right, so can you see, you want to step over here?
I can see, I just can't see what.
You just can't see what that is?
Yeah,
Okay, so you can't see whether or not that's a person.
I see something, but I'm not sure if it's a person.
Okay, and we back it up a little bit. Just a little bit. I'm trying to be slow. Okay, so over there to the right, that's the side of the street where Mr. Johnson lives, correct?
Correct.
All right. And so this right here, this orientation, you're approaching, first you would get to Mr. Johnson's house, right?
Yes,
Okay. And if you remember, is there a lot, like a vacant lot next to Mr. Johnson's house as you approach his house? Remember?
no, I do not.
All right. Okay, I don't think we're gonna. But you don't recall whether or not you saw Mr. Approach, please, Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am.
You don't recall whether or not you saw Mr. Johnson working, cutting grass?
I don't recall.
Okay, and you don't recall whether he told you that's what he was doing?
No, I don't recall.
Okay, all right. But you do recall that, he came out of the house and you guys took possession of a cell phone?
Yes,
And you do recall that it was a police dispatch on the other end of the phone call?
yes,
Okay, and you don't recall taking any weapons custody
no,
onto evidence?
no.
Okay, all right, I don't have anything further for Officer Young.
Ms. Brown?
Very briefly, Your Honor. So Officer Ayala, you testified earlier that you don't know who made the 911 call to this, is that correct?
I don't recall it.
Okay, and is your testimony that when you arrived, you noticed Mr. Johnson, did you testify that you saw Mr. Johnson run into the house, or you didn't see Mr. Johnson in that moment?
After I was flagged down and, the complaint pointed, there he goes.
And when he pointed, what was your observation?
I observed through my, mirror, someone running in the house.
After he pointed and said, there you go.
Yes,
Okay. And it was your testimony that you came into contact with Mr. Johnson before or after he came out of the house?
after,
After, so he had time to go in the house and then come out.
yes.
And that's when you had contact with him?
I'm sorry?
That's when you had contact with him?
Yes,
And during that contact, did you do like a police pat down?
yes.
And what did you discover during the pat?
I don't recall.
But you testified that you don't recall, I guess, season 11.
Correct, no,
You trying to have another?
Just like,
I mean, that's like direct, redirect, direct, cross, redirect, recross, redirect, recross, re.
this is.
You don't have, okay. I have a question for Officer Ayala.
Yeah.
You testified, and, this was way earlier when you first got on stage. Ms. Ritter asked you what kind of uniform you were in, and you said I was in a Class C uniform.
Yeah.
Can you stand up for me?
Yes.
Today, those are those, okay, let me get my question. What you have on now, that's your street clothes, or is that any type of uniform?
It's partial uniform. I'm just missing my vest, my outer vest, which has the name, badge, number, all that.
So what would you categorize this uniform as? Is this A, B, C, D, E?
C.
So Class C, but you would have on a vest.
Correct.
So that day, you had on a Class C, but with a vest.
Yes.
Okay, you may be seated. My other question is, you also said when she asked you about your uniform or how you ride, you said I was in a black police car.
Yes.
Describe that black police car to the jury. What does that look like? Is it the regular police car we see on the street? Is it, why did you like say black police car as opposed to strike that? The black police car, are there any police markings that's on the car?
Yes, yes, it has the front push bumper. The lights are just on the inside, the front top of the windshield. It has Detroit Police, a reflective decal on both sides of the vehicle that says Detroit Police.
And those reflective decals, they're black also. Are they black also?
It's like a reflective gray.
Gray. So it's, how does that black police car, okay, if you had been in what we have heard as a fully marked scout car, would you consider the black police car a fully marked scout car? Semi-marked scout car. And the fully marked police car is because the lights are outer. Well, what's the difference between your black police car and the fully marked scout car?
Fully marked, they're white with the big blue lettering of Detroit Police on both sides, and the overhead lights are outside on the top of it.
Readily noticeable as a police car.
Correct.
And your police car is, maybe you have to take a second look to know it's a police car.
From afar.
From afar, okay. Thank you. Are there any questions based on my questions, which were only about the officer's uniform and scout car? On behalf of the people?
Yes, sir. So, real quick, officer.
Oh, I apologize. One other question before you ask question. You also said that you were using a PA system when you were saying, come outside, Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Is there a, why did you call, okay, hold on, let me get my question. So it just sounded to me like you were saying, come outside, Mr. Johnson, come out, like, just like I'm doing right now, come outside, Mr. Johnson. Why do you call it a PA system? Are you saying it's audible outside of what we can hear on the video?
Yes, it's louder from the outside because the speakers are in the front of the bumper with the push bar on, so it broadcasts louder and further out.
And you just have to talk into the thing that you were holding in your hand?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. All right, Ms. Ritter. So my question was about the uniform, the markings on the scout car, and the PA system.
Okay. Couple questions, officer. So when you first arrived to this location, where police lights on or off?
I believe I don't recall.
You recall, okay. do you recall, well, you viewed the video in the courtroom, correct?
Correct.
So from what you remember, how far away from Mr. Johnson's house, or this house Mr. Johnson came out of, were you?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
How far away from the house were you when you were calling Mr. Johnson on the PSC?
I'm not sure approximate distance.
Were you right in front of the house?
No,
Okay, feet rise. Would you be able to recall? It's okay.
I'm not good with that.
But you weren't in front of the house.
Correct, I was a
Some
good
distance
distance
from
away.
I'm sorry.
I was a good distance away.
Okay. No further questions.
Ms. Stevenson?
No questions based on the court's questions.
Okay,
Court's questions.
thank you, officer. You may step down.
Thank you.
All right. Will people have any other witnesses?
Not any other reason, but people would like to recall Mr. Rizzo. As a brief direct.
Okay, okay, it's, okay. Mr. Red, you remember earlier when you came up and I swore you in? You're still under oath, okay, sir? You may be seated. Ms. Ritter, you may proceed.
Thank you. Mr. Red. I just have a couple of questions I want to ask you, very briefly. You testified earlier that you live across the street from Mr. Johnson, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. Do you know if Mr. Johnson has neighbors next to him?
no, there's two vacant lots, Mr. Johnson.
Okay, when you say next to, are you meaning one on one side, one on the other?
Yes,
Okay, and both of those houses are vacant?
the lots.
They're lots, are there houses or just lots?
Yes, it's just lots.
Okay, and the person you described, Mr. Johnson, as the person who pulled a gun from his waistband and pointed at you and said, "I'll kill you."
Yes,
Do you see that person in the courtroom?
yes.
Can you point that person out, tell me what that person is wearing?
He's right here with the blue shirt on, and the beaded, wooded beaded, next around his neck, blue jean pants, and gray shoes.
Judge, may the record reflect that identification of Marcus Johnson?
The record will reflect the identification of Marcus Johnson.
Thank you. And that's the same person that you said has been your neighbor for 7 or 8 years, you said?
Yes,
No further questions.
Any cross-examination?
So those two lots that you just referred to, do you know who owns those lots?
no ma'am.
Have you seen Mr. Johnson mowing those lots?
I know Mr. Johnson claims a lot.
Pardon me?
He claims a lot, so I'm gonna be on or not.
Okay, so what I was asking you is, have you ever seen Mr. Johnson mowing those two lots on either side of his house?
I'm not sure.
And how long have you lived across the street from those two lots?
About 15 years.
And how long has Mr. Johnson lived?
Ms. Stevenson, you be getting quiet for some reason.
And how long has Mr. Johnson lived across the street from you?
I know him, living across with me about 7 years.
Okay, and you're not sure whether you've ever seen him mowing those two lots?
No ma'am, because I don't be around that much.
Okay, all right, nothing.
Ms. Ritter?
No further questions, Judge, thank you.
Thank you, sir, you may step down. All right, anything further on behalf of the people? Say that again.
May I have a moment?
Okay. I don't know what it is about this trial and history, but you all just decided to talk low. I don't usually have a problem with them talking low.
Well, now, the people have no further witnesses.
Okay, the people rest?
The people who are.
All right, with the people resting, and before I ask any questions to the defense, there is an officer in the hallway. Well, I said before I ask any questions to the defense, but that's not true because this question is for the defense. There's an officer in the hallway that, the people apparently did not call, approach and let me ask a question.
In the front of this.
Is Clay still locked up?
Yes, over the front. I'll talk to myself. Hold on. All right. Oh, I should have asked you this up front, but nonetheless, so ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we are concluding for the day. Concluding for the day. So what's gonna happen is you're gonna go home and take your blue jury badge and you're gonna pick your outfit for tomorrow. And then you're gonna put your badge either on your outfit, or ladies, you're gonna clamp it to your purse that you're gonna bring, or you're gonna put it on your coat. Do not leave home without it, okay? And then, Ms. Stevenson, I feel like I showed you this the last week of your trying to put it in.
Right.
So this, I think we can safely say 9:30. I think we can. Yes,
Coach, right?
there, yes. Ladies and gentlemen, you're gonna return to court tomorrow by 9:30. Officer Crafts took you to a jury room on this floor, third floor. You're gonna return to that door. There'll be an officer there to greet you and to bring you into the jury room. We cannot start without you. We need you here at a return tomorrow at 9:30. And then we're definitely gonna finish tomorrow, okay? So, any questions? All right. Then we can take the jury home. Leave your folders in your chair. We're gonna lock those notepads in that black file cabinet. No one is gonna review your notes. All right. Maybe see that anything, which the people have rested, is there anything on behalf of the defense?
Defense rest.
Okay, and I think, so, okay, thank you. Mr. Johnson, state your name.
Marcus with a K, Correll Johnson.
Mr. Johnson, do you understand that you have a right, you can be seated, sorry, Mr. Rick. Do you understand that you have a right to testify in this case? Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
And your lawyer has indicated, that the defense rests, meaning that the defense does not intend to call any witnesses. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Johnson, while, it is important for you to consult with your lawyer about testifying, do you understand that the decision as to whether or not you testify is completely yours? Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Understanding that and having consulted with your lawyer, is it your decision not to testify in this case?
Yes.
Are you sure? Because you hesitated a little bit. Do you want to think about it overnight or talk to your lawyer again?
Yeah, cause
Okay. Don't worry about it, Mr. Johnson. This is what we're gonna do. Tomorrow, before the trial starts, I'm gonna ask the question again. And you can think about it, you can talk to Ms. Stevenson, and you can weigh the pros and cons, okay?
yes, Your Honor.
All right,
So, Your Honor, I actually do have something outside the presence of the jury.
okay.
I actually have a motion.
You can be seated, Mr. Johnson.
So at this time, Your Honor, defense does move for directed verdict. Even considering the evidence and the light most favorable to the people, Michigan Criminal Jury Instruction 11.25A, subsection 3, and subsection 4 indicate, while the defendant is in possession of a firearm, while the defendant is in a public place. That's referenced in paragraphs 3 and paragraphs 4.
Hold on, Ms. Stevenson. Can you say that again?
So the jury instruction, Your Honor, paragraphs 3 and paragraph 4 refer to the defendant being in possession or doing something illegal with a firearm in a public place. And the testimony that has come forth from the complaining witness in particular, Your Honor, indicates that Mr. Johnson at all times was in his yard. And we're gonna argue that even when the police officers are testifying that Mr. Johnson goes into the house and they have to get him out, they have to have him come out of the house and then come out of the yard. We're arguing therefore, Your Honor, that the people just looking at the jury instruction on its face would be unable, based upon the testimony that's been presented at this point to meet the burden of proof beyond something else.
So there, if the court is given a motion in the light most favorable to the non-moving party, Your Honor, there was testimony that Mr. Johnson was outside. The testimony wasn't specific as to where he was outside in his yard, but he was outside of the yard based on the testimony. And to be honest, Your Honor, the public place would be a question of fact by prior effect at this time. So I'm gonna ask the court to deny the motion and continue.
Any rebuttal?
Your Honor, the testimony was clear from the complaining witness that at the time that Mr. Johnson is supposedly pointing his gun, not conceding that point at all, but at the time that that's supposed to be happening, the witness testified that Mr. Johnson was in his yard, even, looking at, well, that's what he testified, that Mr. Johnson was in his yard. The witness also testified that those two lots on the side of the house, which he's not even saying that's what Mr. Johnson was, but the witness testified that he doesn't know who the owner of those lots are. He testified that Johnson is claimed to be the owner of those two lots. We're therefore arguing that nothing in the evidence that's gone forth that's taken place at this point indicates that Mr. Johnson was ever doing anything illegal in a public place, and the statute requires that.
Court is going to reserve his decision. Anything further?
No, thank you.
Nothing at this time, thank you.
All right, and we are back in session on this case at 9:30 tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.